Greetings, inquisitive souls! Join us at Infinite Insights as we delve into marvels together. Ready for today's enlightening adventure? Story 1. Girlfriend, 24 female, saying I, 25 male, shouldn't be spending my birthday with friends. It's my birthday next month, and for the last 2 years since I've been with my partner, we have gone away for the day for my birthday. It's never been on the actual birthday since we've been at work, but it's been the weekend after or before. This time my birthday is Friday, and my girlfriend and I have been looking at a nearby city to go to for the day on Saturday, but nothing has been planned yet. This morning, a friend from university that I've not seen in a while made a group chat with a group of 5 of us from university who haven't had a chance to catch up in over a year and a half. They were talking about meeting up for the weekend next month, and the only weekend that everyone was free was my birthday weekend. Every other weekend of the month, at least 3 of us couldn't make it. I mentioned to my girlfriend the possibility of us going away for the day either the weekend before or the weekend after the original weekend we looked at, since both of us were also free on those weekends, and I explained why. She said I was being unfair and that I'd rather spend my birthday with friends. I pointed out that wasn't the case, and it was the only weekend we could all meet up, and I didn't know when I'd get the chance to see them again. I mentioned that we weren't doing anything on my actual birthday anyway, so it should be fine doing a different weekend. She just said I was prioritizing seeing friends over spending my birthday with her, but I just see it as the plans I've made with my girlfriend we can do another weekend like we've done every year, whereas the plans with my friends can only be done on this weekend, but she says I should cancel them. I'm not sure what to do or how to handle this. Does anyone have any advice? Yeah. Tell her you're gonna hang out with your friends. In fact, I would go so far as to say, if you found out these friends were getting together, you would be justified in going, hey, you know what I'd actually love to do? Is get together with my friends as well on my birthday, because even though you're my girlfriend, you cannot provide every single bit of social want and need that I have 100% of the time. No partners can do that. That's not a reasonable thing to expect from another human being, and so I should get to see my friends. The fact that she's guilting you about something on your birthday is gross. And I don't like that. That is controlling. And that is maybe she's not trying to be controlling. Maybe she is insecure. Maybe there's something going on that she needs some help to work through. Maybe even with a professional. I don't know, but what she's doing isn't okay and isn't healthy, and to make you feel guilty about wanting to see friends that you haven't seen for a year and a half on your birthday is not okay. Story 2. My son wants to be a landlord and is insulting me because I am a tenant. My, 41 male, son, 15 male, has taken a keen interest in becoming a landlord, but has also started insulting me for not owning my own house. I'm glad to see he's taken some initiative, however, I am concerned about his mindset. We currently live in an apartment, and he's told me that I am a failure and a rentoid, and that he is embarrassed to be related to someone without any land. I tried to explain to him that houses cost a lot and that I've worked very hard to provide for our family and that there is nothing wrong with choosing to rent. I also explained to him that landlords often mistreat their tenants, and that if he wants to be a landlord, he should work on being a kind one. However, he insisted that it is the right of landlords to charge whatever they want, and has said that when he is a landlord, he wants to evict single mothers, which I found very concerning. He spends a lot of time on the internet, and I'm worried some ideas from online may be influencing his thinking. This month, when the landlord came to collect rent, my son offered him a $50 tip out of his own money. I tried to explain that you do not tip landlords, but he insisted I was being a greedy renter and taking advantage of the landlord. I explained that we paid significant rent already, but he did not listen. Before this started, he was really into video games and did not seem to try very hard in school, which I found concerning. On the one hand, his grades have improved, and he's even started walking around the neighborhood offering to shovel to make some extra money, which he has put into savings. However, his words hurt me, and I feel his mindset is not constructive and compassionate. I don't want to discourage this newfound success, but I am very worried about him. Yeah, I'm sorry. I would have an easier time if I had a child and I found a birthmark with the numbers 666 on like the back of his head or something. I would be more okay with that than if my teenage child came to me and said, I want to be a landlord and evict single mothers. Like, I would back away just like, what have I done? Where did I fail as a parent to create such a monstrous wart upon society? Like, there can be good landlords. Don't get me wrong, not a lot of them, in my experience, but there can be good ones. But it sounds like your son wants to be one of the bad landlords, like a specifically awful human being landlord, and I feel like that's terrible. And if the internet's at fault for that, we need to shut this whole thing down. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for expecting my girlfriend to pay me back after dinner? So, my girlfriend and I have been together for a little over 2 months now. We've done many activities together, but this time my girl suggested we have an actually nice restaurant dinner for the first time. I specifically told her that a nice but reasonably affordable place would be best. I gave her a rough estimate max amount, since I just started working after quite a while right before meeting her. Since it would be her birthday, she told me she wanted to go someplace quite expensive, but told me not to worry, she had it covered. Long story short, we ended up going to what is by far the most expensive restaurant I've ever been to or seen, and at the end of the meal, she made us split the bill. I told her that was totally okay and to just Venmo/pay me the money later. I legitimately wasn't upset or anything and said we could square up at home. She went a little quiet, and when we got home, she showered and went straight to bed without saying much. The next day, she gave me the money she owed dollars in cash, but left it on a note that said, "Since I guess we nickel and dime each other now, here's your money. Happy birthday, me." Now she's giving me the cold shoulder. I tried to talk to her about it, but she just kept brushing me off, saying I'm being a cheap jerk. I honestly wasn't trying to be a jerk. I just genuinely had a budget and was super clear about that. She's never been upset about me using a budget before this. I was very specific that I could only afford a certain amount and even told her that before dinner. She claimed that by telling me she had it covered, she only meant that we'd split the bill, otherwise she'd expect me to fully pay. Am I the a-hole here? If I am going out with some friends and they want to go someplace that I'm like, oh guys, you know what? I'll have to let you go without me. I don't think I can afford that. And they say, don't worry, bud, I've got you covered. And then are like, all right, now pay your half. I'd be like, that's not what I've got it covered means. If you're covering someone, you're covering it. You were clear. You stated what your budget is and that you did not want to go over that. And then she brought you to a place where your half went over that. And after saying that she would cover it, I'm sorry, she's in the wrong here. You made yourself pretty clear. I guess you could have asked the follow-up question well, what do you mean by you've got it covered? But that feels like you're not trusting her with what is a pretty clear statement. So, yeah, no, you're not the a-hole, and she needs to learn how to communicate better and also respect your budget. Story 2. My date got me a gift, so I got him fired from his job. Hi, I'm a 22-year-old female who at the time of this story was just out of a relationship. I started seeing this guy, 24 male, who we'll call Frank for the story. We went to a bar and we clicked very well. He would then hang out at my place almost 3 times a week where things were amazing. About a month into our friendship/relationship, we were thinking about getting serious. Frank constantly love-bombed me, messaged me every day about how much he loved me, and etc. He even came over one day with a gift for me that was in a unique designed glittery gift bag that had crystals, a hoodie, little necklaces, charms, and baked goods from a store in the mall. We officially started dating, and it was great for a week. Frank sent me a long text message saying, "Oh, I love you so much," and how he would love me forever. Going to bed, I thought nothing of it, just happy someone loved me and expressed it. The next morning, I woke up to another paragraph text, thinking it was another love message. I was wrong. He started off the text with, "I don't love you," and wrote about how he was sleeping with his ex and me at the same time, and that he didn't love her and lied about loving me. I was devastated. Normally I wouldn't have cared that much, but after being love-bombed for a month by Frank, it stung. Immediately after reading this, I got suspicious. Some backstory. For the duration of talking to him, he talked horrible about his ex, whom Frank still lived with, saying that she was abusive, trashy, etc. So hearing him say he was sleeping with her stung a lot, but also set off some red flags. I went to work that day upset, but I was getting over it quickly. Until Frank's ex messaged me on Instagram, who we'll call Stacy. Stacy told me how he was love-bombing her and begging for her back, and that she wanted to make sure me and him weren't a thing. Out of respect, I told Stacy what he had said to me, considering she was brought up in the text anyways, and I sent her screenshots of every single time he trash-talked her. And I'm talking at least 50 screenshots of paragraphs of him trash-talking her. He was trying to get sympathy from me for him to cover over and staying the night. Stacy apologized for his actions and decided to not date him. Eventually, me and her grew to become good friends, and I realized Frank had lied about everything. Stacy was the sweetest, most timid person I've ever met. Now, remember the gift he had given me? I ended up rearranging my room and finding the bag with everything Frank gave me. Looking at the items, something seemed off, so I texted Stacy. I asked her if she happened to be missing anything, any crystals or hoodies. She had a hippie aesthetic, so her owning crystals was a given. Stacy texted me back that she was in fact missing 3 crystals, and she described the ones that Frank had gifted me exactly. The hoodie, also hers. The charms, hers. The only thing he didn't steal from her to give me were the baked goods from his job. Stacy and Frank both worked at the mall in our city, and I decided to stop by and return everything he had stolen and given to me. He was off that day, but I was told when she got home and he saw the gaudy bag he put everything in, he knew we met up and knew what he did. He apparently started crying and begging for her to forgive him on his knees, which I found hilarious. Fast forward a week later, Stacy tells me he went back to doing the same thing with other girls. Apparently he had done this 5 times to different girls, getting into full committed relationships and cheating. Angry, I remembered something Frank had told me about how he would steal baked goods to bring home, and that if his boss found out, he'd be peed. So I naturally called the store where he worked at, told him everything he was doing at work, along with his cheating and 2-timing, and all other secrets he told me about what he did at work that could get him fired. Since then, I never see him at the bakery, and when I asked him about it, they pretend he never existed. Even my new best friend Stacy said he moved out since he couldn't afford rent, so where he is now is a mystery. Boy, this went from being a story about a guy who needs to learn to just, pump the brakes a little bit and not overwhelm their partner, and this is coming from someone who does subconsciously sometimes love bomb a bit and has learned to reel that stuff back. It's not healthy, guys. It puts way too much pressure on things. It's putting them on a pedestal, which can make people uncomfortable. Don't do that. It's really unhealthy. And I thought that's all this story was going to be about. But no, it's about the sleaziest sleaze, who's the mayor of Sleaze Town, cheating and stealing and just lying to women constantly. And he's getting what he deserves, which is losing a job that he was stealing from and losing people in his life because he's lying and mistreating them. Just learn to do better, buddy. Seriously. Be truthful, communicate, and just do some self-introspection and stuff. I don't know. See a therapist, but your life can get better, but the old you needs to not be a part of that life. New you, please. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for not wanting my husband's mom at our wedding? For context, my husband and I got married in a courthouse 2 years ago. I told my husband to tell his family, but he didn't want to since his family wasn't my biggest fan. His family can be extremely judgmental and have said they didn't like me or my character because I grew up in a place completely opposite of where they're from. Every time I had met with his family, some type of drama would unfold. For example, his mom accused me of touching his brother's leg inappropriately at his grandfather's funeral. I slapped his knee because he told me a joke I thought was funny. I chalked it up to the fact that she just lost her dad, she didn't like me, so she needed someone to take some type of anger out on. I put up with a lot more than that for my husband since I never wanted to be the type of person to ask him to choose. 5 months ago, I had our second child. When I had found out I was pregnant, my husband and I were going through a rough patch. We almost divorced because of a lot of things, his mother being one of them. We decided to really work on our marriage, and we've been amazing ever since. The best we've ever been. During my pregnancy, his mother and I got really close. I'd like to say I'm a really forgiving person, and I try to see the best in everyone. Also, it was making my husband happy. She even came down to stay with us when I had the baby. Fast forward a month later, she called my husband and said she and his dad would love to come and visit since his dad had yet to meet the baby. I thought the visit went well, but while my husband had gone outside to get my toddler's car seat from their rental car, my father-in-law told my husband he needed to swab his mouth to make sure the baby was his. My husband, of course, got angry and asked my father-in-law if that was the reason they came to visit. My mother-in-law ran outside because she heard them fighting and told my husband it was nothing like that everyone in the family was swabbing their mouths because they were doing a 23andMe. She said that my sister-in-law and brother-in-law had done it, so they wanted him to do it too. He declined doing one, and we left it at that. A month after the visit, my mother-in-law called my husband and said she needed to speak with him privately. He went outside for an hour to speak with his mother, and he came back inside visibly upset. He pulled me to my room privately and informed me that my mother-in-law and father-in-law had swabbed both my newborn's mouths and my toddler's mouth when they had visited. They said that my toddler came back 99.99% related to them, but my newborn only came back 11% related to them. So they felt they need to tell my husband so he could get my newborn DNA tested. I was confused and angry. I had also just found out my brother had a brain tumor as well, so there had already been a lot going on for me emotionally. When my husband and I separated, I had not slept with anyone else since our relationship was so rocky. I didn't want to do anything more to jeopardize losing him, so I wasn't understanding why she felt the need to take a DNA test into her own hands, especially since it wasn't a concern of my husband's. Ever since my husband was told of the DNA test, him and his mother would not stop fighting for a number of reasons. I no longer trusted her with my children, and I no longer wanted her around, and she couldn't understand that. We decided to get a DNA test on our newborn so we can shove the results in her face and we can move on with our lives. Of course, the test came back 99.9999999% my husband, and she thought we could just pretend it didn't happen, but the damage was done. That brings us to today. We set boundaries with mother-in-law and father-in-law. They can no longer video chat the children every day like before. Our daughter is not allowed to go over to mother-in-law's alone, and we no longer update them about things going on in our lives. We've kept them at a distance, and it's working for us. Recently, my husband and I started marriage classes so we could redo our wedding with our families included. My family knows the whole situation with mother-in-law, and I'm also not her biggest fan, so I told my husband I do not feel comfortable inviting them to our wedding. My husband was obviously upset, but understood. We've set our save the dates to everyone in his family but mother-in-law and father-in-law. There's been nothing but drama since. I'm putting my foot down on the situation and still strong on the decision that I do not want them to come to but my husband is stressed because they're involving everyone in his family in our drama. Should I just give in for his sake and invite them? Should I stand my ground and say no? Am I the a-hole if I don't invite them? My husband told his mom we got married an hour after we said I do. He was hesitant to tell his mother-in-law because 1, she wasn't my biggest fan, and 2, she wants all her children to get married in a church. So the first words out of her mouth were, "You guys aren't actually married," and it is now, "That is not your wife," whenever they're arguing because she's drunk. Also, my husband is the one who wants this wedding. I was reluctant, and I personally thought a party was enough, but he did want us to get married in a church, so after I thought about it and I figured things out with myself religiously, I agreed. And to answer the question most asked, she has not apologized. She has called me to talk out the situation, and I explained to her I understood her doubt. I also explained to her that it made no sense to me why she couldn't just ask for the test since she and I were in such a good spot. I would have done it willingly. Her apology went along the lines of, "I'm not going to apologize because I believe what I did was right to protect mine." And when I informed her we were taking some space, her response was, "I don't understand because I've disrespected you so much in the past. Why is now different?" So, For those saying they're all for second chances, I've given her 1,000,000. I've spoken with my husband about the situation, and he says he's fine with either. He is fine with them not being there, and he's fine with them being there under certain conditions. Don't invite them. I'm sorry. She's been awful to you in so many regards. And a wedding is supposed to be a day that's about you and your love as a couple, and it's supposed to be this joyous, wonderful thing, not something that you're doing to appease them, not something to appease other people. And if having this woman there that has treated you so poorly would be negative to you in that situation, which of course it would be, yeah, I don't think she gets an invite. And you know what? If she's just like, how could you not invite us to this wedding? How could you not? Just be like, well, you know what? I'm just doing what's right to protect myself. Story 1. Boyfriend gave me a marriage ultimatum. He needs to marry for immigration and religious reasons. He told me he needs to make this next step in his life and that he has to do better in practicing his faith. He's broke and has a poor credit score. In his religion, the man is responsible for his wife, so I'm just wondering how I would be taken care of if this is his current situation. I don't feel comfortable getting married if we're going to be struggling financially right from the get-go. He said Monday is the deadline. I thought he meant to give him an answer and start planning, but he means Monday as in go to the courthouse and get married that day. He told me this past year we've been dating. He's gotten many opportunities from women that are interested in marrying him. He said he declined or ignored all of them because he wants to be with me. I don't know if this is true or if he's trying to make me jealous. I talked to my mom about it, and she said she feels he's brainwashing me and that I should not be pressured into this. She suggested not to make any big decisions right now. Is this manipulation? How do I move forward? You move backwards, away from this man, as fast as you possibly can. I'm sorry. I'm with your mom on this one. Maybe I'm just getting old, but no, nothing about how he has addressed this is okay. Like, he needs it for immigration reasons. Okay, that's a discussion to be having. But then also, like, okay, you're bringing your religion into it suddenly at the same time, and you're kind of like jumbling these together, which it feels a little disingenuous, but fine. Let's go with it. But then, like, also he's coming from a culture where, like, the man provides from the women, and has he expressed this is a thing that he feels? Because, you shouldn't have to do that. But then also to be like, I've had lots of other women telling me that they wanted to marry me, but I turned them down because I want to be with you. Yuck! Oh, you're putting on pressure to go down to the courthouse and get married within a week. That's the decision time you're giving. And then you are putting on the pressure by being like, lots of other women out there who want to marry me, so better say yeah. Like, no, absolutely not. Big old middle fingers to this guy. Get the heck out of there. I do not like him. Ugh. Story 2. Today I effed up by asking my dad for a new sweatshirt. I guess I will begin this post. I'm a 16-year-old boy. My dad is 37. My dad never graduated high school. He lived in a bad neighborhood and got in with a bad crowd. He would then spend a few years in prison. At 21, my dad had me with my mom. My dad told me my mom abandoned me when I tried reaching out to her. He advised me not to. She blocked me on Facebook. At 21, my dad had inherited his parents' trailer and a bit of their land, so we had a place to stay. Our trailer isn't a lot, but it's our home. My dad, due to his criminal record, has to work for a construction company. He's tried to climb up the ladder in the past years, but his criminal record and lack of education stopped him from doing so. I begged him to allow me to get a job, but he got angry at me, saying he wasn't going to have his own child providing for him. My dad regrets his past, but he's always told me he can't change it. He's been the best dad in the world, and I appreciate him so much. He never got into another relationship to take care of me. A part of me feels guilty because he stopped his entire life for me. My dad doesn't make much money. We have a lot of bills, and he has some debts, so we don't have much wiggle room. Last time I got brand new clothes was on my 15th birthday. My dad took me shopping at Walmart with his stimulus check. I got a bunch of clothes. However, I guess you could call me a late bloomer, and I outgrew most of them. Mainly the shirts because my shoulders broadened out and it began hurting and stretching my clothes. I tried stealing some from the lost and found, but none fit me. When my dad got home, he made dinner, and while we were eating and watching TV, I asked him if we could buy a new sweatshirt or two. He gets this really saddened look on his face. To sum up the conversation, he explained that we really didn't have the money and how we needed food, and he'd start putting aside some for a few months from now. I got glum and disappointed and went to my room. I don't blame my father for any of our troubles. He's a great dad. I'm just frustrated at the situation. That's when I peeked my head out of my headroom. My father was crying. I wanted to approach him and give him a hug, but I've never been good with emotions that much. I've barely seen my father cry. I just went back to sleep. My father had been hell-bent on me staying in high school, and I'm a good student. I get mainly A's, and I intend to go to college. Tomorrow, I'm going to write my dad a note and leave it to him before I go to school. I'm still deciding what I'm going to say because I'm still crying a little, but here's the gist. Hey, Dad, I just want to thank you for everything you've done for me and all the sacrifices you made. I promise when I'm making a lot of money after college, we'll get out of this trailer and move into a big house. You can have all the Xbox games you want and finally have the childhood that was taken from you. I understand that everything you've done was to give me the things you never had, and I'm eternally grateful. Thank you for everything. I love you, Dad. This is just a really good, touching story, and I don't want to joke on it or say a whole lot of anything. I'm obligated to comment on stories, transform them a little bit, and, add to stuff. But I guess all I'll just say is that if you have a dad or a mom or parent or whatever, someone in your life who's made sacrifices to take care of you, then if you can, just let them know what they mean to you. Story 3. Am I the a-hole because I got my daughter an $80 dress? My family just got back from a week-long cruise, and there's still some tension about this. My wife and I took our 20-year-old son, 16-year-old daughter, 13-year-old son, and 7-year-old son. Our oldest spent most of his time on vacation doing his own thing, having breakfast and dinner with the family, but being seldom seen otherwise. My wife and I enjoyed spending time without kids, but we also did some couples activities. There are clubs on the boat for kids, and our 13-year-old really enjoyed them, but our 7-year-old didn't and kept wanting to spend the day with his sister, who we'd given carte blanche to do her own thing as long as she ate with us and answered when we messaged her. She was a good sport and took her little brother on most of her adventures, swimming with him, taking him to trivia, and doing the animation classes with him. I felt like this was very sweet of her and showed a great deal of maturity. The second to last day of the cruise, I took her to the gift shop and told her to pick out whatever she wanted as thanks for looking after her brother. She was very excited and ended up picking out a dress. The dress was $80. She wore it to dinner that night, and when she told her mom I bought it for her, my wife gave me a weird look. After dinner, she asked me why the hell I did that. I explained that it was a reward for looking after her brother. She said we can't buy an $80 dress for our daughter and nothing for our sons. I said we didn't get them anything, we took them on a cruise. My wife says I'm an idiot. I don't think so. We got some trinkets for the younger boys, about $20 worth of stuff. My wife thinks I effed up and said I should apologize to the boys. I refuse. We take our adult son on a vacation that cost thousands of dollars. He had no reason to resent his sister being rewarded for being thoughtful. We got our 7-year-old and 13-year-old a really expensive souvenir. It would probably be lost or broken. She thinks that I was an a-hole, though. You're not an a-hole. I'm gonna agree with the guy here that this is a fine thing to do. You don't always have to get everyone something when you get one person something. Sometimes just one person does a really nice, sweet thing watching over her 7-year-old brother on the first vacation where she gets to kind of be an adult and do her own thing, and she still willingly and without complaint took her little brother along with her on all these things and played babysitter. So yeah, you got her a present for that. We're like, hey, thanks so much for being so sweet. Here's a little something. You don't also go, and for the rest of you, you also exist. Here's a little like, no. When they do things, you can give rewards for them. And I'm sure that, like, if you were always giving your daughter, like, expensive gifts and never anything for the other kids, that might be a problem. But Every once in a while, sometimes, yeah, you just do something for one kid and the others. It's good for kids to learn that they don't always get something when someone else gets something. Because when they expect that stuff, that's how you get these entitled people that we're always reading posts about. Story 1. My, 35 female, boyfriend, 39 male, of 8 years doesn't want to marry me. Should this be a deal breaker? I met my boyfriend of 8 years in a pretty complicated context. We were both recovering after a massive accident that injured tens of people, killing dozens, including his then girlfriend of 2 years. We got together a year and a few months after the accident, and our relationship came with many ups and downs, mostly because he experienced great difficulty moving on from his late girlfriend. However, 2 years into our relationship, things became normal and we moved in together, and ever since, stuff has been pretty good. About a year ago, I talked to him about getting married, and he said he's not ready yet, and let's talk about it again later. I opened the conversation this year because he wants us to buy a house together, and to my surprise, he still said he's not ready, yet he'd like me to use my savings to purchase a home with him. I told him I don't think that's right, and he said that he'll buy it himself then, and we can share it. I'm uncomfortable about the whole thing because I feel like he only wants my contribution when it's to his personal advantage. Should this make me think twice about the direction our relationship is taking? So I have a couple thoughts about this. First off, little known fact, my partner, Madam Facts, and I, we are not married and plan on never getting married. We just do not want to have marriage in our lives, and I don't have to justify it beyond that. Like, we don't need marriage. And I think that's fine. However, relationships are a partnership, and there have to be, while there can be concessions made one way or another on certain things in a relationship, there does have to be kind of a consensus on certain things. And I think a big one of those is whether or not you want to get married. And if marriage is something that is important to you, but your boyfriend is just like, nope, I want to do the other big things, but I'm not ready for this. At the very least, that requires a bigger, more open conversation. And he can't just be like, no, I don't want to talk about it more right now. Like, no. 8 years buying a house, you have to have that talk. The results might not be great. They might not be a result where you're both going forward together, but maybe they are, but it's only going to happen with talking. Story 2. Today I effed up by agreeing to go out on a date with the school douchebag and getting humiliated. I am a 17 male, and the douchebag, who we'll call Daniel, is also 17. For some history and context, I go to a small school. It's a small school, but we live in a city. My class has around 230 people in it, so everyone knows everyone. As you can see, we're both males. I'm a gay guy. I haven't had much relationship experience due to being scared of rejection. Everyone in my school knows I'm gay. I get made fun of, but it's something I've gotten used to. There are other gay people in my school, of course, but none of them are my type, and I don't really hang out with them. This boils down to about a week ago. There's this guy, Daniel. He's friends with a group of kids who are a-holes and peaked in middle school/freshman year. I know this was a red flag, but up until now, Daniel was kind to me, and I'm not an exactly terrible-looking dude. When he asked me out to dinner, I was shocked, I will admit. Daniel is the school douche. He isn't exactly liked, but his family is prevalent, and his mom is close friends with the mayor or something, and people mainly like him because he's rich. Neither of us present as gay. I mean, if you could call it presenting, but it was even more of a shock for me because Daniel didn't give any hints at all, and I thought he was bisexual when he asked me. This boils down to yesterday night. Day before Valentine's Day, we had agreed to a local diner to get some dinner for a small date. When I arrived at the diner, he said he was going to be a little late. I was fine with that and took a picture of the booth I was in. I waited over 2 hours for Daniel to show, from text to calling his phone. After about 10 minutes after 2 hours, I got a text from Daniel calling me a loser and a picture of me sitting alone at the booth. I then get notifications of his social media accounts and pictures of me sitting alone at the booth with captions calling me slurs and a loser in them. To make a long story short, I went home and cried and gathered the courage to post here. So, Daniel's a loser, an absolute cretin of a loser, and the kind of person who will be nothing after high school. He will be the person that other people occasionally are like, oh God, I remember him. God, he sucked. And that's going to be his life. He's going to make some other friends. He's going to get some jobs, probably since his family's rich, a pretty well-paying job. But he's going to be kind of miserable. And the reason is because he's a miserable, gross person. And unless he does something to change that and better himself, which might happen, but otherwise, when a person acts like that, no one wants to actually be friends with them. They might enjoy laughing about the stuff that they do, but they're not going to get close to him because he's like that with everyone. He sucks. And the best revenge you can get, we've been saying it a lot on this channel lately, is a life well lived. You're a worthwhile person who deserves love, who deserves a wonderful relationship, and just let Daniel know how much his little thing means to you by not giving an F. Because why would you care about the opinion of someone like that? Story 1. My, 26 male, boyfriend, 24 male, has been making sexist comments about my best friend, 26 male, partner, 24 female. I have been with my boyfriend for 4 months and known my best friend for 8 years. We all moved in together in a 2-bedroom apartment 3 weeks ago. Neither me nor my boyfriend knew my best friend's girlfriend much beforehand. I would say, however, that she has been an excellent roommate. My boyfriend has been making sexist comments to me about her from the beginning. He accused her of only getting into college and only getting her job because of her looks, and said she doesn't seem that smart for someone in her occupation. He said it was BS that the girl here is making more money than all the guys. He always calls her the girl here. He accused her of not doing enough chores, even though she was doing her fair share without having to be reminded, in contrast to my boyfriend who always avoids them. He said she was too obsessed with her career because men don't care about women's careers, and suggested she should be more focused on improving her body instead. Then, when she bought a new smart TV for all of us to use, he accused her of rubbing her wealth in our faces to emasculate us. This morning, he asked me to sleep with him before he had to get ready for work, and I said yes. Then he started complaining how it's so unfair that the girl here can get a good 9-to-5 job while I have to work Sundays. I told him, it sucks that you have to work today, but I don't understand why you seem to resent her so much. Then he said, come here, we don't have much time. I told him I don't want to bang a sexist. He started throwing a tantrum and accusing me of being secretly attracted to her and not seeing her flaws because of that. When he left, I was feeling absolutely disgusted by my boyfriend's misogyny. I don't know if I should just break up with him or if I should tell my best friend and his girlfriend about any of the things that he's been saying behind her back. I'm honestly embarrassed that I've even tolerated it for so long, but I don't know how I should proceed at this point. Yeah, I'm sorry, that is some pretty gross behavior and most definitely misogyny. And look, it's something I hate, but you see it a lot amongst certain people in marginalized communities. Obviously, you and your boyfriend are part of the LGBTQIA+ community, and that's great. But it is a community that has had to struggle and get through some real crap. But sometimes you see in these communities that they start to target other people who have been marginalized because things are maybe getting slightly better for them. Women were just as marginalized and have struggled in our society, and they're still struggling. Things are not 100% better. But sometimes you see different people in marginalized communities going after each other, and it sucks because we should all be kind of supportive of each other and not resorting to this. Even if she, in this one instance, maybe got her job because of her looks, which, how the hell are you going to prove that? But fine, if she did, so what? You don't have to be making those remarks. Yeah, I could go on about this. I could make a whole essay about this. But best I can say is I would have a really serious talk with him about it, and if he's not going to change his way, I wouldn't blame you for breaking up with him, because Yeah, I would not want to be around someone who's talking like that either. There's some understanding for putting up with it. Don't feel too bad, because sometimes we just can't believe that someone we love and care about would be like that, and we're trying to give them the benefit of the doubt or whatever. But yeah, eventually enough is enough. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for not letting my sister use the family property for her upcoming wedding? I am 25, my sister is 29. I also have a younger sister, 8. When I was 14, my mom sent me to live with her parents. Her excuse was that they needed me to help out. I believe she just didn't want to deal with a growing male teen. My grandparents owned an amazing property in the mountains that has an amazing view. We also have some horses and other critters. They were also quite wealthy as well. They both passed 4 years ago, a month apart. They gave me the property because I would appreciate and respect it more. While my mom and sisters got money and other assets overall valued more than the property. In the past 4 years, I turned part of the property into a venue for mainly weddings. Grandparents knew of this idea and thought it was a good one. We are busy and usually booked about 8 months out. My sister got engaged 1.5 years ago and said she wanted to get married at the property. I said yes, just let me know the date as soon as possible so I can make sure it is booked. I never got a date. I followed up several times and kept asking her, and she would brush me off. 2 weeks ago, I got the wedding invitation stating the property is the location and the date, which is in September of this year. I immediately called her to say that we have booked for that date and can't accommodate her. Well, now her, my mom, other family, her partner's family, as well as other flying monkeys have been blowing up on me. They're also calling and writing reviews for my business. I asked them to stop and call my sister, telling her that literally all she had to do was tell me when she knew her date so I could block it, and I would take care of everything else. She went off on how I'm ruining her day. It is our family's property. How she already sent out the invitations and couldn't go back now. I should just tell the other couple to cancel. They've been on the books for over a year now, and I actually like them. Family is more important. After the last big blow-up, I started communicating strictly through the business, using our recorded line as well as email. I suggested 3 other dates around the same time, but that's not good enough. I'm being resentful and an a-hole. Your sister and your family suck. I'm sorry. You tried over and over again to get a date, and then she sent out invitations without checking on the date from you first when this is a business for you now and it's your property. I don't care what her or her family says. They're in the wrong 1,000%. And at this point, I wouldn't even offer them another date. I would say, you're not the kind of folks that I want to deal with. You can't have your wedding here at all. I don't care if the date is open and as free as can be. And the fact that when you said no, that they started writing bad reviews about your company online is so gross. Why would you ever try and make amends with them, at least concerning this? No, screw them, screw her wedding. They suck. Story 3. Today I effed up by letting one rip in front of my boyfriend. I, 21 female, been seeing my boyfriend, 25 male, for almost a year now, and he's a pretty good guy. He's just a little more proper than me. He won't fart or burp in front of me, and he probably expected me to never burp or fart in front of him. I've told him, though, that I think farts are hilarious, and my family farts in front of each other all the time, and my grandpa even rates them out of 10. Since my boyfriend finds it disgusting, though, I haven't shown him my full fart potential until today. We had eaten Mexican food earlier, and it didn't agree with me super well, and I had to pass the gas pretty bad, but my boyfriend was with me in the kitchen. I had to think of a diversion and asked him if he could take the trash out for me, and he said yes and took it out the door. He wasn't even gone a second when I ripped one that almost vibrated the house. I was glad that he didn't witness the mass destruction of my pants, but when I turned around, he was staring at me from the back door. He had forgotten to put his shoes on and was coming back in. I've never seen such disgust on a face before, but he definitely thinks I'm nasty now. I think my grandpa would have given me a thumbs up and a 10 out of 10 on that one. I think your boyfriend needs to lighten up a little. Like, it's fine if he doesn't find farts funny. I don't understand that mentality. Farts can be quite hilarious. My Great Dane farts every day. And I'm not kidding. It is like prolonged, like... And before you get on me about diet, we have checked with the vet multiple times and been praised for what we're doing, so shut up. But yeah, if he doesn't find farts funny, that's fine. But they're a natural body function. They happen. And if you're in your own house, you fart where you want to fart. The people who are like, if you're going to fart, excuse yourself to the bathroom first. Fine. If that's how you want it in your house, fine. But what? So good on you for your big hilarious fart. And boyfriend, just chill out a little. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.